Well, hello to you all. Very welcome to this panel. Hope you're having a great time at Collision here in Toronto. I am António Dias Martins, and I have the great pleasure of talking to two great and inspiring founders. Naj and Danny, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
I will, with no further ado, start by asking you to present yourselves and your company. Naj, please.
Sure. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. My name is Naj Austin. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I am the founder and CEO of Somewhere Good. We are a prop tech platform using AI to help small businesses manage events.
Hey, everyone. I'm Danny Ingers, co-founder and CFO of Vosker. Vosker is a mobile security surveillance platform enabling users to monitor what matters to them in real time, anywhere in the world.
Okay, so Naj, I'm curious. How did you went from real estate to entrepreneur building an inclusive social platform? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I think I followed the traditional entrepreneurial journey, which was that I was working at a company that wasn't serving me anymore and had a vision for using underutilized spaces in an interesting way that tapped into community, identity, etc. And had the wild idea to quit my job and go forth.
Okay. Good experience until now.
Exactly. I am realizing all of the repercussions of that decision in real time.
Okay. Danny, we are going through some difficult times in terms of macro. Your growth has been amazing in the last years.
Yep.
Actually, since inception. How do you maintain a healthy revenue trajectory and at the same time managing your bottom line and your costs in your company? What techniques do you use to that?
Well, it's a great question, and there are several techniques, but if I think back of something that's really core to our business and what we do and how we do it, is that before hiring someone or an expert in a specific field, whether it's marketing, legal, HR, we try at first to do it our own way. And the reason why we've done that in such a way is that you kind of learn and you get the chance to fail while you're learning and know what it is to be good in HR, in marketing, in sales by yourself. This is saving costs and teaching you who's the expert and who you should hire next. And then when we hire a specific marketing guy or women, we know that that folks is going to be great at his job. And maybe another layer to that, because I think sometimes we miss that, and at Vosker we've been great at identifying that issue, is that you some sort of hire folks that pretend to be experts, but instead of doing the job themselves, they convince you to hire a consultant in order to basically do the job that these folks, so your employee, should be doing. And that is actually costing you a lot of money. Not that I don't like consulting firm of any kind, but like you should be able to hire people and you pay them a hefty salary because they are able to execute and do that themselves. And this is one of the ways we've reduced the costs by doing stuff ourselves, and that we brought really strong individual base of highly talented folks that are doing great jobs.
Okay. Do you find it hard to take difficult decisions in what relates to costs when rough times are there? So I don't know if you experience rough times with your successful company with amazing growth pattern in the last years, but when times are rough and it's difficult to go ahead, what's the role of the leadership doing difficult decisions in what relates to costs?
Well, honestly, and we've talked about this, Naj and myself, just before going on stage, and even before that. But there's something about the fact that when you're growing excessively fast, and you jump in at any point, is that you have to realize that you're some sort of living into the chaos of growing very quickly. Okay, and growing into the chaos means that like everything's on fire. And you have to choose which fire you should extinguish first in order to have an impact. And that is tough because you don't know if that fire is the right one or not. And I think one of the things that we've been great at is surrounding ourselves not only with great employees, but with great partners, great investors, great lenders who had this experience because they had saw this many times. And I think that's the same for you in your business. We're talking about that just before jumping on stage.
Yeah. I mean, we're at two very different stages, I'd say, as companies, and I think we hold similar, stories about the importance of hiring the right people and having the right investors and advisors at the table, in which when things go wrong, because they inevitably will, you have people who both understand, I think, the shared value of the company and sort of the mission and the goal, but can also help direct. When we talked about fires, I often mention my very amazing CTO, who I can say, I need you to put out that one. I cannot take on that fire as well. And we have amazing investors who I can call to say, I'm not quite sure how to put that one out, and they have done it 1,000 times before, which goes back to the importance of hiring the right people and bringing the right people onto your cap table.
And Naj, what's the importance of the company culture to you?
Oh, I think the company culture is almost everything. I think the culture guides things getting done well. And I think with that shared vision, things get done in this remote world really easily. My team is remote. We're all across the U.S. And I believe that due to having a strong culture, shared vision, shared values, we're able to execute beautifully and in a way that makes us all feel very proud. And I think one other important thing in regards to the importance of culture is that when you do start to grow and you start to hire and bring on more people, you start to become very protective of that culture. It becomes very scary that one person does have the power to shake that. And so really identifying why are we all here is critical. I ask myself that almost every day as a founder. Why am I doing this again? And I think that reminder serves getting work done well.
Okay. Totally. You're right. And I share the same sort of belief that every folks that you add into your team can have an impact on your culture. And you have to be very careful of that because your culture is going to evolve from day one all the way and every day on a sustained basis. And that culture is evolving with the individual that you bring on board. And when you're starting, really at the really early beginning, you're maybe a team of one. And when you get a second player in your team, then that player represents 50% of the evolving culture. And the third one is 30%, and the fourth one is 25%. And then still at that point, they can have a lot of impact on what it is that you want to be and define yourself. So you have to be very, very careful, even at the beginning and even later on, of who you bring on board. You have to make sure that they do fit with this culture that you have inside of your business.
Danny, how many people do you have in your team currently?
Nowadays, we are just a bit north of 350 employees.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago or 3 years ago, how many were you?
Yeah, we're a lot less, a lot less. So that was one of the fires. So you have to hire all these people, and you have to redefine your culture that is constantly evolving and changing. And we've got to say at Vosker that we constantly say every day, that's written on every wall, which is basically always changing, always adapting, always forward. And everybody that joins the team needs to fit with that sort of mantra of like, we will always keep adapting and pushing it forwards. And that culture, like, it is so important that it attracts the right talents. And when you want to grow fast, you need to hire a lot of folks very quickly. You want to make sure that you hire the right one. And this sort of always adapting, always changing, always forward approach makes sure that the people inside of the business, the fit that they do have, well, if you're not familiar or if you're not fitting with that sort of mindset, well, your peers, your colleague, your coworkers, they're going to outgrow you. They will outcompete you, outwork you, and at some point, it's like if they're going to eat you alive if you don't fit that mindset. So it's enabling people to either come in and quickly leave if they don't fit with that. And I'm pretty sure it's the same in your business.
Naj, how do you attract the right people, the right talent within these new generations that have specific goals, that want to experience new things, that have their own objectives of giving to the society, of culture, of much more than just business? How do you attract them? How do you motivate them into your project?
Yeah, I feel a bit redundant in saying this, but it really comes down to the clear and consistent vision I've had for the company. And I think to bring on folks who worked at Apple, Google, insert name of other large tech company, where you are getting benefits and you have things that my startup cannot offer, the reason one would take that role, and I'm obviously using this from my own perspective of my team, is that they want to build something that changes the world in a way that matters to them.
Okay.
And they see that through Somewhere Good in what I'm building. And then I think the second component, which is always interesting, is you get these folks who have insert flashy job and don't feel like it maybe calls to them anymore. In which they maybe just really aren't even doing work. And so when they come to Somewhere Good, I love to be like, well, you want it work? I have which hat would you like today? I have nothing but work. And I think it motivates people. It reminds you that we have a purpose in life, and I don't think that purpose should always come through work, but I think it can. And the work that we do specifically, I think it invites people to think about how they can spend their time and energy moving the world forward, alongside getting a check at the end of the day.
Okay. Danny, we had some recent interesting presentations from PitchBook about the current status of funding and fundraising to venture capital and to startups. You have raised, I don't know, almost $100 million recently.
Yep.
What do you think are the greatest challenge for a founder nowadays to raise capital and to get the funding done?
Wow, that's a great question. I think from our perspective, and maybe the challenge and how we've overcome it, is to build a relationship. It is something to raise money. It is something to ask someone to write you a $100 million check. Like this, that person needs to believe that you're going to achieve something, or that group of person, that group of investor, they need to believe in you. So what we do at Vosker is that we focus on building the relationship. So what that means is that we reach investor and we constantly engage with them. We tell them, look, here's our plan. Here are the milestones that will be achieved in the next 3, 4, 5 months, and here's where we're going to be in 1 year from now. And we keep the discussion going always and always, so that when we do need capital, they know that we have a track record of being able to deliver and execute on the promises that we've made. And so this is how we've been able to pull all the financing out. It's because of the relationship building momentum that we have created.
Okay, great answer. Naj, what are the challenges that you face as a leader, and how do you cope with the multitasking that sometimes you have to perform while managing all priorities and giving answer to all the necessities that make your company grow?
How do you manage all the fires?
Yeah,
how do you do that?
which day is it that I'm responding to? Well, I have a lot of trust in my team and my investors.
Okay.
I am a solo founder, which was a choice. So the buck very much stops with me, and I take that responsibility very seriously. And so I think when there are inevitably 100 fires happening at one time, I take a moment and think that they're always going to be there. And I think there's something somewhat comforting about I actually can't put them all out. And it forces me to think a bit more strategically and lean on the folks who I brought into the world of Somewhere Good and figure it out together. I'm a child of 5. I love collaborative work. I don't think I should have to do anything by myself. And so when there is something that feels daunting or I'm unsure of how to move next, I pick up the phone, I Slack someone, and we figure it out.
Okay. Danny, what's your type of leadership, and how do you deal with multitasking?
Well, I think we really, it resembles what Naj just mentioned. We really trust the people that are on board and the talented executive that we have, because they've delivered in the past. They were there standing by us, so us as three-founder, fighting or extinguishing those fires, and even sometimes starting new fire in order to grow faster. So we really trust the people with whom we associate ourselves and whom we work with. This is our style.
Well, in our last 3 minutes, I would like you to give some advice to the young entrepreneurs that we have here in front of us and that are dealing with the challenges of scaling up or launching their their businesses. So what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur entering into this world? Naj?
I would encourage a young founder to, this is going to sound a little on the nose, but you got to keep going. I think it's so hard, and I think it can sometimes feel easy to stop, and maybe I'll do this later, or I'll get a job, and I'll do it on the side, or et cetera. And I encourage everyone, if you feel like you've discovered or come upon or worked towards or built something that is going to critically change how we exist, and that is very vast purposefully, dig deep and hold on. I think that is the hardest part that I've found in being a founder is there are some hard days, and I often am like, should I whip out the old LinkedIn? Like, is this the time in which I call it? And
no doubt.
I haven't, and then, miraculously something amazing happens. We sign a big deal, and a big investor in it all. I'm always like, see, I don't know why. I love doing this. But on those hard days is when you need that call in the most. And so to also surround yourself with people who remind you and call that in. I have one investor who I call her, and she's like, okay, where are we at on the, let's burn it down, journey? And I'm like, I have the match. And she's like, okay, we're going to work through this. And then by the end of the call, I'm ready to, take on the world and, fundraise. And so I think having the right people also helps engender that response.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great answer. Danny?
No, it's a great answer. It's very powerful. And I'm lining toward the exact same sort of answer. So you have to, basically, what I've mentioned right at the beginning, we faced highly difficult challenges every day. So you need to keep pushing forward and redefine what's possible every day. You need to redefine yourself, grow the business, grow your team, grow their talent, and that encompasses the vision of being able to always adapt, always push forward, always maintain this mindset of growth mindset, and being able to face down whatever is going to come your way. Sometimes there are tough times, and when those moments happen, you can lean on the folks that are part of your team and part of that growth mindset with you.
Yeah, and be resistant to failure, right? Learn with failure, resilience. I think it's a really important thing to deal with.
Resistance to failure. I would maybe add on that, you will fail. It's totally fine to fail. You have to fail as quickly as possible and as less often as possible, but you have to fail. It's part of the process, and you have to trust the process.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. A round of applause to our guests and panelists. Thank you.
Thank you.